first item on our agenda is a request for a consideration of a no-wake zone. And this is John and Bill. And anyone else who wants to talk about slow no-wake zone, please come on up, approach, state your name and address for the record. I don't know if, are you guys, is this kind of an independent effort, or are we all working together? Or?
We're working together, Mayor. John has got a PowerPoint presentation that will follow my 3.5 hours worth of...
Right, perfect. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council, and thank you for allowing John and I to briefly share with you the needs and benefits of establishing a no-wake zone on the St. Croix River fronting on the city of Stillwater. This is kind of putting the idea in your wheelhouse so that we can proceed onwards with you guys and us guys. For the record, my name is Bill Booth, and I've been a part-time resident of the city of Stillwater for 30 years. Because I dock my boat at Mulberry Point Yacht Harbor, which is commonly called by others Stillwater Marina. For the past 10 years, I've been liveaboard from April through October, depending upon the weather. The establishment of a no-wake zone, which is known as an anchorage or a water surface use zoning, is needed to ensure the safety of the boaters and businesses such as gas docks and pump-out stations that are on that river, as well as providing the city the opportunity to get the boaters to feel comfortable to come into the city of Stillwater and spend their money going to the many restaurants and businesses that are there. You know, one only needs to walk down the streets to see that Stillwater is going through a massive revival. New stores, new restaurants, and other amenities, and the boaters want to take advantage of it. There are, however, but a limited number of locations in Stillwater that one can either tie up to or anchor without being upset by the wakes that come by and knock you from one place to the other. If you've ever been down there when my friend Gondola John has been on the water, he sits up in the back of that thing, and I don't know how he does it. I talked to him the other day, and he's in California, and he said, I'll fly up, I'll testify. And I said, we're not there yet, guy, we're not there yet. You know, if one finds a location, they are confronted with all sizes of vessels creating wakes, which result in both the vessels as well as the people on board put in harm's way. So you understand, there are a number of local and state agencies that we will need to work to accomplish our goal. The process starts, however, with the city of Stillwater, and we're grateful for having the opportunity of being here today. At a time certain, I'm sure the public hearing will be called. Hopefully the final step would be the creation of an ordinance that would provide a safe and enjoyable experience on the St. Croix and increase revenues for the businesses that are in downtown during a great time. We look forward to that. John has got a PowerPoint presentation that he'd like to present that will sort of amplify these words.
Great, thank you.
He's the technical guy.
Not really, but... So my name's John Cook, and I own a small business downtown Stillwater, Portside, and the building down there. And we're looking to see if you guys would entertain a no-wake zone in Stillwater. You have something to control that with, or?
Right in front of
you. Okay, is it just left to right here? Is that how you work it? Oh, you got it ready?
Whoop, just a second.
Oh.
Okay, I'll try.
So we're trying to get is to do basically provide a safe access for boaters to visit Stillwater, which most other towns, the river towns, have those, and we don't have that. So people come in here and go and use the retail spaces, and the bars and restaurants come in there and entertain themselves down here. Excuse me, I'm just getting over a cold. So basically, if we could have a no-wake zone, people could come into town and tie up and basically either go to the wall or tie up out in the river and come into town and use the different retail spaces. We don't have that right now, so it'd be something to bring people into our town and use our places or whatever. So Hudson has it, and they...
John, sorry to interrupt, but
okay.
Is it not moving up there? Do you want to try and hit it?
That's just the screen though, right?
Sorry.
There we go.
Sorry about that. So Hudson has it, and basically they have anchoring the beach opportunities. Many boats anchor every weekend, and some boaters stay during the week too and use the different facilities and things that are in Hudson. They also have the public docking, the seawall tie-off, the beaching. It's kind of a major river destination for the boaters to stop and have lunch and dinner. There's different, let's see, what we don't have, like I said, if it's not protected, I mean, I don't know how many people in here are boaters, but basically if you're out there and a large boat comes by and they create a big wake, it causes damage to the boats, and the smaller boats, bigger boats, whatever, causes damage to them. So we try to prevent that by doing a no wake. And that's Afton. Afton has it. Basically, they have an area there, and I don't know exactly how long it is or whatever, but most of the river city areas where there's different beaches and things like that have it to slow down, so there's no damage no damage. Prescott, they're another one. They have a no wake zone. Same thing. Basically, people can tie up out there and go into town and enjoy the different bars and restaurants and retail spaces. Obviously, Stillwater's kind of more set up for that. I mean, there's probably just as much business here as there is like in Hudson, so it would be a good opportunity for Stillwater. And then coming to Stillwater. Basically, right now, Stillwater doesn't have that. So it's basically the larger boats come through, create a big wake, and damage anybody that's tied up out there.
Hey, John, just for people that might not be super familiar, but can you, I think there's a laser on that thing, and can you maybe show people like where they, where boats, one could tie up, where they can't now, and then where people are anchoring out? So, you know, I mean, I guess you've got all the traffic of people that are trying to go north and south to get under the bridge.
I'll turn that on.
Oh, all right.
Hang on 1 second.
That part by Holden.
All right, our park.
Look to the left.
Oh, wait. There we go. I think. So, right here, is that the bridge right there? That's the bridge right there. So basically what we'd be looking at is maybe coming through here and doing a no-wake zone through here. So whenever the wind's blowing, if the wind's coming from the south, north, or the south, if you're on this side of the bridge, you're safe, or you're on that side of the bridge, you're safe. And when I say safe, it's just more calm. The bridge really blocks the wind and stuff like that, so it makes it a safer area to be in there. And at that being the point, oops, excuse me. Sorry. Okay.
There you had it. There you go.
There you go. So basically, if you have that, it's an opportunity for people to come into town, enjoy town. I'm sorry, I'm not very good at speaking, so it's an opportunity. So we'd like you guys to look at it and see if there's a possibility to back us to go forward and look at doing this or whatever. So
where you put the laser, you put that almost up and down, all the way up and down Stillwater property. Is that what you're looking for?
yeah,
I mean, you're talking about the top of the, where?
Up by the island.
Up by that island, all the way down to the, darn near Sunnyside?
no, I didn't go. I'm sorry, I couldn't get this thing to work the way I wanted.
That's okay. I mean, that's a pretty expansive no wake zone is what you were pointing.
That's certainly one of the questions that is sitting at our desks trying to figure out where should it start and where should it end. You know, we see that the city is going to be owning Eiffel property.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to be having up there, but, you know, the cruisers going by, they're blowing 3 and 4 foot wakes, splashing in on the shore. But there's still a lot of work to be done.
What's the range of speeds for no wake on the various boats on a river?
I'm sorry?
What's the various speeds, the range of speeds that boats have to slow down to in order to make no
Lowest
wake?
navigable speed,
Yeah.
So you can maintain steerage.
right?
And in
I'm
no
just-
My water patrol days.
Sometimes
wake area, it's dead throttle.
sometimes people are in a hurry, and so I think that we got to be parsimonious with how wide we have that no wake zone. I'm all for it. You need to know that, though.
I'm all for a no wake zone in front of our levee wall, but that's where it starts and stops with me, is just right in the city of Stillwater on the levee wall, to encourage parking. Beyond that, I'm not I don't know why.
Certainly be looking at that.
And I know the bridge is already, it's supposed to be no wake underneath there. It's not, there's no signs, so nobody would actually know that. And people blow through there all the time. So, and I agree with Councilman Widener. Levee wall to the end of levee wall, at least it would give them a place to slow down. They know they have to slow down going under that bridge. I'm fishing out there all the time, and people come flying by there, and they're going to run you over. And there was a death out there, what, 15 years ago, 20 years ago? The guy took off with a cruiser and ran over a fishing boat. So, I understand the no wake in front of the Stillwater and limiting it in front of our levee wall for parking the boats and that kind of stuff. To be quite honest with you, I fish out in the river 2-3 times a week, and I'm going to stick up for the fishermen too. Some of those no wake zones south of us are exaggerated, and it's really frustrating to a lot of fishermen to get up and down the river, because if you want to catch fish, you got to go a long ways to catch fish and go to your fishing spots. And that Hudson one, it takes forever to get through there. I mean, you might as well plan on an extra hour to get through there, and then you have to come back. So there's I would agree in front of our levee wall, by the bridge to, underneath the bridge from levee wall to levee wall, that we should slow people down there. It's already no wake, as far as I understand, underneath the structure like the bridge.
And that's the thing. I mean, technically it's 100 feet from shore and structure, right? From your water patrol days.
I don't know that I remember that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to just go ahead and say I'm right, but it's 100 feet from shore and structure. I mean, I think if we were to mark that based on what we could do today, you'd be left with, you go 100 feet on both sides of the bridge, 100 feet from our property in Wisconsin, 100 feet from our levee in Stillwater, and you're left with two little weird channels that I don't think make a whole lot of sense for boaters. So I do think it would be a lot easier just to call it a slow no wake and work with the DNR and the Sheriff's Department and that whole process to make it safe. Over the years, I've spent a lot of time on the water and right in front of Stillwater, and I've seen boats run over jet skiers that didn't know where they were going, coming under the bridge too fast. Last year, we had a big cruiser run into the bridge. There's a lot of big boats sitting around waiting to go north and south when that bridge opens, and then to have the smaller boats going 50 miles an hour, back and forth underneath the bridge at the same time, I think is just a massive public safety issue. And a couple years ago, I saw a family, the river was about where it normally is, where you've got about a foot from Sam Bloomer, so you can actually walk along our levee, and something big came from the north going south under the bridge, plowing a huge wake that put about a 4-foot wave up on the street and took out a family. And that, I chased that person down and said a lot of nasty things on the radio that day. But I think, again, for me, it's a big public safety thing, not to mention the benefit of being able to tie up on our levee when the river level allows. I think if we can make that more boater friendly, I think it'd be a really cool feature for Stillwater. Most communities have it. And I'm really not aware of a river town, and I've traveled by boat from Stillwater to the Bahamas and back, and I can't think of a river town that does not have a slow no wake in front of it. Or a bridge, right, where you have a bridge that impacts navigation, there's always a safety zone around that bridge. So
I would
fine.
certainly look to explore everything, but I might be interested more in a bigger swath than the levee wall itself, only because as we continue to build Stillwater and now that we own the property up to the Eiffel property and down to Sunnyside, depending on what we do, we might be able to get some public dockage or whatever in one of those two locations. So certainly I'd be looking to create a bigger swath and expand that potential no wake to possibly enhance that boat, because I don't think our levee wall is long enough, quite frankly, to host that many boats that want to pull up, quite frankly. I think we need more options, more opportunities for boats that are going to park somewhere on our property, and therefore that would create a bigger no wake. But I think the idea is fabulous. Certainly look to explore it and look at every opportunity we can.
Councilman, there's also that diamond in the rough, which is an anchorage. As John was saying, depending upon which way the wind is blowing, you're either on the north side of the bridge or the south side. And I know that a lot of my friends from Stillwater, will come up by boat and park and anchor
Yeah.
But they don't need this. And, they'll take a dinghy and come into town and go to the restaurants, bars, and stores.
I was approached by a gentleman last year that said exactly that, as they've tried to do it, but he was requesting a no-wake zone just so they can even pull off to the Wisconsin side and anchor and come in. So it makes sense. I don't happen to agree with Councilman Junker on this. I don't know that we can speculate as to where we're going to put docks or when we're going to do it. So I would rather take it piecemeal. I'd rather take it where the usage is now, and probably do a smaller no-wake zone and expand it out later on, as opposed to a bigger one right now.
When we do something with the North and the South Park, that would be the time to look at whether we extend the distance of where we have the no-wake. At the same time, I think if we do the no-wake, we ought to look seriously at making the dockside more presentable or more comfortable for people to put their boat, the levee, to put their boats alongside. I walked my dog up and down there for I don't know how many times over the past number of years, and people say, "Oh, you can't berth there," and yet I've seen many boats tied up alongside there, and I also see that somebody, when we put the bollards in, there are 8 bollards. I don't know if you've noticed, that are up against the wall over the walk, and those bollards need to be moved closer to the water side so that people can tie their boats up to them. But I think that, and if people don't know enough about tying boats up and they get in trouble, well, they need to learn more about boating, I think. But we need to be able to bring people in alongside the dock, as well as slowing the wake down.
Yeah, I think this is the first step in that, right? We can't do anything to that levee unless we slow the boats down. But I agree. I do it all the time, and I've learned many mistakes in tying up to that levee over the years, and I think I've got it pretty much down pat at this point. But it requires a lot of fenders, a lot of lines, and I traditionally don't like to tie my boat up to concrete, especially when there's really big, fast boats going by. So I'm all for it. I think again to your point, Councilman Widener, I think really if it was just the city's decision, I think it would be easier to look at an expanded no-wake zone. But right now we've got to rely on the DNR and the sheriff signing off on this. And what I'd hate to have happen is to ask for too much and get shot down versus doing something a little bit easier to begin with or more digestible and trying to expand over time based on what we see results being. And so I'd be in favor of that. I don't want to go for everything and then be told that we can't do it.
Yeah, I can see where Councilman Junker's coming from, but I don't know that we're going to. I think you're right. I think it is easier to get a smaller piece now, and if we do decide on dockage later on, more permanent docks for the city, no matter where they are, whether or not we talk closer to in,
right,
or farther out.
I think Bill brought up a good point though with Eiffel Park and how everybody's kind of looked at that as our calm water access up north.
How about if we come back to you with some answers to the questions that you've raised? Is the one that hasn't been raised yet is, which city council person is going to be out in the dinghy, stopping the boats as they come by?
I'll do it.
It's going to be the sheriff's department who has enforcement in that area. And I don't know what we do at this point. I mean, I don't know what, I think you bringing this to the council is a really good start. And I think together, we can probably make this go forward. But I don't know where your activity, your assistant stops and we take over from here now that you brought the issue up.
Yeah, Tom or Bill, do you want to speak to the process a little bit and what you found out?
Mayor and council had some conversations with these gentlemen previously and then followed up with the DNR water regs and boating folks. And there is a process, and it initiates at the local unit of government that ultimately has to hold a public hearing and then have taken some decisive action in favor of a particular request. But beyond that, the DNR won't approve it unless the sheriff's department in the county has indicated its approval or at least nods in favor of that. In this case, the National Park Service is probably be involved because of the scenic historic St. Croix Riverway, and there may be other entities as well. It might be St. Croix County Sheriff's Department, as there's a shared regulation there. So there's a number of steps in the process. As the gentleman brought forward, perhaps an item to do is to have those folks come up with some further proposals about where exactly this is, and we can provide some maps to that effect, to scale, where we can see, council can see exactly where it is, and then at some point, depending on what the proposal is firmed up to be, there needs to be a public hearing established.
Okay, so we have to work with whatever groups, or we could just do it internally at this point
You
to
could.
create
Council
a
could.
proposal for a slow no wake zone in front of Stillwater.
Correct.
And then we have a public hearing. And after the public hearing, the DNR, it goes to the DNR.
After the public hearing and any action taken by council, that would be forwarded to the DNR for consideration, along with whatever communications there may be from the Sheriff's Department and also the National Park Service and any other entities that might.
Do we have any idea how detailed this proposal needs to be?
Fairly detailed, expanse, how many 100,000 feet it's going to be, designation of how far off the shoreline, et cetera, et cetera. I think as much detail as possible. How you're going to mark it, and on and on and on. And we can get more information from DNR on specifics about what they would need to see.
Okay.
That'd be great, especially because it's my understanding that this summer, I mean, if we can move that forward as staff, because this summer, it's my understanding, a section of the bridge is going to be removed. So there's going to be, it's going to be permanently open for boat access and at least one portion of the bridge while the lift mechanism is being worked on. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think because it's a construction zone, I mean, the last construction zone was a no-wake zone.
Right.
Are we going to be looking at another no-wake zone because it's a construction zone with MnDOT or the state?
I think the MnDOT folks would be working on that. But I can check with them.
Yeah, it'd be a good thing to check with them to see, because this might be a test to figure out during that construction period, because it's going to be under construction all this season, is my understanding.
That's correct.
And whether or not, if they're looking at a zone, whether or not we could expand it just ever so slightly if it doesn't cover the entire levee wall right now, whether or not we could expand it ever so slightly to cover the entire levee wall as a test.
Good idea. So you guys have the direction you need to keep this going? Need to vote on this? No,
Thank
we're
you.
good.
Thank you for bringing
Guys,
this.
yeah, no, thank you guys so much.
Good idea.
I appreciate that. Absolutely.